Welcome to the Doghouse. Have a listen as we take a look at life, love, and art in all its forms. Here's your host, the Rock Dog, Andrew Davis.
On and off since 1987, I've worked in radio. Now, the last 12 were spent with Vista Radio in the Comox Valley. During that time, I had the chance to interview many people, musicians and actors, wrestlers, and even monster truck drivers. I also kept the audio and thought that every now and then I'll send one back out into the world. Now, this interview, I'm not sure the exact date, but it's the end of June, about a week before he performed at Vancouver Island Music Fest in 2011. Jon Andersen from Yes. It's short. It's about 5 minutes. Tell me what you think. Have I improved? First, I wanted to ask you about your health problems. Are you able and willing to talk about that?
Oh, yeah.
You're obviously feeling better now. What was it that took you out of action?
Well, I had severe asthma attacks. I've never had them before in my life. They've been coming up over a period of 3 or 4 years, but this was a really bad one, and it stopped me in my tracks, and I was put into a coma for 3 days. And then about 2 months later, what had been causing the asthma came up again, and I had to have about 5 operations. I was at Stanford Hospital up in San Francisco for about on and off for 6 months. But, I didn't sing for a while, and thank God for Jane, my wife. She saved my life, and I spent a lot of time painting.
So how did this affect your relationship with the other guys in Yes? Because they've obviously made the decision to carry on without you. How does that affect your relationship with, men that I suppose were your friends, or maybe still are?
Well, you find out who your friends are when you get sick. So, they weren't that interested. So they wanted to carry on doing what they want to do, which is cool. It sort of hurt for a while, but you say, I got to get on with my life. My God.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm having so much, I feel happier, healthier, and just having so much fun. Just doing solo work and performing with orchestras around the world and doing concerts here and there,
Yeah, so I take it you're not in touch with any of the other members of Yes?
No, not at all.
So tell us about the solo album. Obviously, I read that the health problems you had kind of inspired this album, and this is going to be the first of 3 you're releasing over the next couple of years?
Yeah, well, I started working with people around the world by the internet about 5 years ago now, and you start working with people, and there's a lot of great musicians out there, so I am constantly working on new music. I was doing a song an hour ago, and I'm working on so much new music over the next 2 or 3 years. There'll be albums, and this is the first of a series of albums.
Survival and Other Stories, which is out now.
Yeah, it's out now, and it's getting great reviews, thank you. So all is good, and I think that's the most important thing, that people like it, whether it's critics or whatever. I'm just happy that people will get a chance to hear it and enjoy the music. So
you've been recording for a long time, so you've obviously seen the growth in technology. What's it like working with other musicians through the internet as opposed to actually being in the studio with your fellow musicians? Obviously, the dynamic must be completely different.
Well, yeah, you rely on, that they're good musicians. They're going to sing good music to you. And we have Skype connections, and you get to know people through their music. And as I said, there's so many talented people out there. They'll send music that really inspires me, and in some ways, it's just a different way of making music, and, well, why not? We're in a modern age, and why not try something different, It feels very natural. It's not like, it's just a great way of being inventive. It's like more like an adventure. You never know what's going to come through the email system. And sometimes, like last week, I was doing North African music, chanting, and various things like that. And this week, I'm writing sort of love songs and sort of very atmospheric songs. Every week is a different week for me, and I'm very creative. I always have been,
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to take you back a few years, considering I'm calling from Canada, and I want to bring up Larry Gowan.
Oh, Larry.
Moonlight Desires. How did that come about?
I did it totally out of friendship. We were actually in the same studio. He was in Studio 2, I was in Studio 4 down in L.A., and I was working on some new music, and it was sort of mid-'80s, And he came over and said, "Hi, my name's Larry. Would you mind singing on my album?" I said, "No problem." Went in and sang on his album, and that was it. It was just like a friendly thing to do,
Absolutely. You're still in contact with Larry? Friends?
It's funny. I see him every time I come to Canada. I see him up in, I think in Toronto. And he's a good guy. You know, he's one of the really talented guys. He's with Styx, I believe.
You have there's a few singers out there that have really distinctive voices. Ozzy being one, Klaus Meine from the Scorpions, and you. People, when they hear Jon Andersen, they definitely know that it's Jon Andersen.
That's true. I've just got this alto tenor voice, and I'm so thankful that I've got a voice that's distinctive, you know. And actually, I feel like I'm singing better than I've ever sang before. It's just when I got really sick, I think it was like a rebirth, you know.
So I wanted to ask you this, too. You've been touring for many years. You've performed in many cities around the world and obviously in many size venues. So what's your preference? What do you like? Clubs, arenas, stadiums, festival?
Well, actually, I just like any kind of gig. You know, it's always a sort of a challenge to put on a good show, and I'm very, very open to anything that comes along. I'm going to be up there at the festival, and it's a very open-ended situation. People come for just different people, different musicians. So you know that all those people are not there for you. You got to put on a show. You got to entertain people, and you just want to make sure that everybody has a great time. You know, when I play in front of 500 people, it's as important as playing in front of 10,000 to me. Just the way I am. You know.
Music Fest coming up July 8th, 9th, and 10th. I believe you're on the Saturday, on the 9th, I think.
That's right.
Yes. Any surprises you have for anybody, for the folks out there?
I won't tell my jokes. But no, you know, songs from Yes, songs from John and Vangelis, new songs, and generally I like to have a good time on stage, and that sort of reflects into the audience. So people will just have a good time.
You've been listening to The Doghouse with Andrew Davis.